expert and executive coach whose life tells a story of survival, reinvention, and mastery. None other than Mr. Don Weber.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Don on Advocacy. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Sure. My background, I'm a communications and leadership coach. So what I do is I help managers, leaders, CEOs, these types of people who have strategies that they want to roll out, frameworks. And it's beautiful to have a wonderful strategy and framework, but if you can't get your lower down, your directors or even other senior managers, C-level in fact, to take buy-in on that strategy, it's a little difficult to roll out. So I help leaders take their strategies, take their frameworks, and make it not just digestible and palatable, but help them actually roll it out in the way that they communicate these ideas to their colleagues down the chain of command, down the hierarchy of the organization.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Don. Thank you. And today, let's talk about the leadership and executive presence. So let's talk about the definition beyond charisma. Executive presence is often mistaken for charisma or confidence. How would you deconstruct into its core observable components, its specific behaviors, communication patterns, and a mindset that makes someone look like a leader?
Okay. Well, mindset, charisma, communication, confidence, those are all elements, you could say pillars or maybe even sometimes foundations of executive presence. Executive presence is the overarching result you get when you have confidence, when you're able to communicate, particularly under stress or under fire, when you're able to make decisions under stress, under fire, having, the right mindset, having emotional intelligence, which we didn't even bring up yet, and knowing how to communicate to people and understanding that you don't communicate to everyone the same way at the same time. What I'm saying is you need to have enough wisdom and savvy to know when to communicate certain messages to certain people at what times. And when you're going to communicate that message, you need to take into account their state of mind, their interest, their motivation. What makes them tick? Why do they want to buy in and help you? Because just because somebody works for you and they're an employee, or even maybe they're very high and important in your organization, if they don't buy in, they can sabotage the best of strategies, the best of frameworks, the best of plans that a CEO or founder might have for his organization.
Very well said, Mr. Don, and very well said indeed. So the EAT factor unpack. When a senior leader says they just don't have the presence for the next role, what are they most often concretely reacting to? Is it a typical communication, gravitas, or appearance issue, or something else entirely?
Well, it could be many things. It could be confidence. I mean, there is something called the Peter Principle. Are you familiar with that, Daniel?
No, sir.
Okay.
Can
The
you
Peter
expand
Principle
us?
is an older idea, but it's an idea that people get promoted to their level of incompetence, meaning, let's say Daniel is really, really good at sales, so we're going to make him regional sales manager. So now he's got to manage people in sales. Well, that's a different function, okay? But let's say, in this case, Daniel takes that promotion. He does really, really well. And then we decide, you know what? We're going to promote him to national director of sales for the whole organization, for the whole country. It's a bigger job, has to manage a lot more salespeople, much less involved in sales, but may find other challenges because he's involved in management and leading people and all this kind of thing. And then let's say, but he's able to live up to the job and he succeeds at that. And they say, well, we're going to make him global sales director or chief revenue officer. And when he gets to that level, he just can't cut it because he can't deal with the board of directors. There's just too many obstacles. We've gone beyond that person's competence. So the Peter Principle is there's only so far. Some people, they have limitations. They may be very talented in one area, but you move them into another area and they might not be successful or may not be very effective at it. Again, maybe a really great salesperson does not necessarily mean they're going to make a great sales leader. That's just one simple example. A great engineer will not necessarily make a great CIO or CTO. So that's one element that we see a lot of times when people are in roles and where they're over promoted. So you may have a manager or an executive who's been good in this role. He's confident, he's competent, he's able to communicate, but now suddenly finds himself in uncharted, unknown waters, and he finds it challenging, or she does. What do they need to do? Well, they need to get training, see if they can up their skills to be able to live up to that role that they're trying to fit. And sometimes, unfortunately, the shoes might be too big, and they not able to fill the role. That does happen. I mean, gravitas is just having that magnetism, but you're only going to have magnetism, charisma, if people like you. But if you're a leader, you can't always be making people happy. That's not leadership. Leadership isn't about making everybody feel warm and oozy and all that sort of thing. Gravitas, okay, might be when you walk in the room, people can feel your presence in the room. They can feel that confidence oozing from you. You send off the message generally when you have gravitas and good leadership, executive presence is, hey, don't worry about it. I got this handled. I know exactly what we need to do. You can trust me. Think about it like in the military. Take a sergeant and he tells his soldiers, hey, I want you guys to run over there where they're shooting at us, jump in that foxhole over there and blow it up with some hand grenades. If they don't trust their sergeant, you know what? There's a good chance they might not do it, or they may not do it effectively. Same concept, different scenario.
Mr. Don, I should say, the authenticity paradox. Leaders are told to be authentic, but executive presence often requires composure under pressure. How do you reconcile authentic vulnerability with the need to project unwavering steadiness?
That's a great question. Really is. If you think, let's take politicians for an example. Okay.
Yes.
Politicians, I've worked with many of them. They're very smooth. They're good speakers. They're good communicators. They know how to take difficult questions, difficult scenarios, and try to spin them to make themselves look good or their political party. This is very common, right?
Yes.
But oftentimes they're not very authentic, are they? Because one day they're saying something, another day they're saying something else. And sometimes, sure, the information change. So therefore, it makes sense that they change their position. But oftentimes, that doesn't seem to be the case. In an organization that's non-political, so you're taking a C-level executive, right? You need to be authentic. Authenticity is things like having curiosity about other people, having a genuine interest in others, a healthy interest, not like a creepy one, but being interested in other people. And people can feel that if it's genuine. If you're faking it, people will detect that as well. Showing a little bit of humanity and showing a little bit of vulnerability as a leader is acceptable, but in small dosages, and only at certain times when appropriate. What am I saying? Perhaps you're giving a talk or a speech and you make a mistake. You might use some self-deprecating humor and laugh at yourself. That might be acceptable in some situations. Again, some scenarios, some situations, not always, right? So, and that makes people kind of feel that they can relate to you. And that probably would work well maybe if this executive is speaking with people who are more in the trenches of the work, right? It might not go over so well with the board of directors, with a group of investors. That might not be a place where he needs to be looking vulnerable. This is probably going to damage the credibility of the organization and him as a leader. But there are moments, but you need to be able to discriminate when is the right time, when is the wrong time to demonstrate that vulnerability. And it's not something you want to be doing on an ongoing basis regularly, not as a leader.
Not as a leader, for sure. So the first 90 days, what are the nonverbal and vocal cues that establish authority and connection in the critical first moments of entering a room or starting a presentation?
So when you walk into a room, it depends, again, what is the scenario? What's the context? Are we walking into a room that's highly charged, it's stressed out, we're dealing with a crisis situation? Or are we talking about, I'm going to give a presentation, a pep talk to our middle managers for the next year and give them maybe the results for 2025. It depends. If I'm going in to give a pep talk, or I'm giving maybe the numbers and everything has been pretty good, the normal thing would be to walk in the room, look people in the eyes, smile. Smiling is huge because it conveys confidence, warmth, charisma, even gravitas, these things we're talking about. On the other hand, if I'm coming into a stressed out, high crisis situation, smiling, it could send off the wrong message. What do I mean? Well, it could be like I'm laughing at it, unless I have the solution. If I have a solution to this crisis, and I come in smiling, I'm smiling because I have the solution. But if I don't have the solution, probably not best to come in smiling. It'd be kind of like going to somebody's funeral and come in smiling and all lighthearted and stuff. I mean, it's probably not really appropriate for the scenario, is it?
Yes, definitely. It depends on the situation, people. Speaking to power, how does the skill of communicating upward to a board of senior executive differ in a substantial style from rallying a team? What is the one adjustment most leaders fail to make?
Okay, I didn't quite get the question. Can I ask you to rephrase it, maybe a little bit, condense the question down a bit, please?
Yes, for communicating upward to a board or senior executive, what is the
Mhm.
difference from a team that are rallying? What is the big adjustment that you will do as a speaker?
Okay, so comparing, if I understand the question correctly, you're saying how would I communicate differently to rallying my team versus speaking to
Yes,
upward management? Is that
yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. With the rally of the team, there again, you're going to come in with higher energy, smiling, positive, good, strong mindset, optimistic future. Future looks bright. Things are going to go well, right? That's the rally of the team, right? And having evidence, not just it's all like feel good and stuff like that. Having evidence or data that you can use to back up why things are going to go in the right direction. If I'm speaking to upper management, I still can come in with a positive attitude and a smile. I may not come in with as strong of energy as a rally because it's not the same, again, same context. It's not, the communication doesn't serve the same purpose. One, I'm trying to motivate people in the rally. Second, I'm trying to, let's say, communicate with the board of directors, or I'm trying to communicate with other, the C-level executives. It's perfect to come in confident, positive energy, happy, all that, but I might just tone down that communication. But again, you got to take into account, and this is really important, what is the C-suite like in that company? What's the company culture? Not every company has the same culture. Some are very hierarchical, very aristocratic. You could say, like you have a lot of companies in Europe that way, the older ones. Or is it maybe an IT company in Silicon Valley over here where things are buzzing and things are moving really fast and it's a different energy, it's a younger energy. So it depends on company culture, it depends on many, many factors.
Yes, definitely. It depends, people. So let's talk about the gravitas, decision making, and under pressure. A leader's presence is most tested in a crisis. What are the specific behaviors that a project calm, decisive authority when everything is uncertain? And how can they be practiced?
So how to manage is the question how to manage stress as an executive or
Yes,
how to manage
indeed.
a crisis?
In both ways. How we do
Okay.
manage in the crisis and vice versa.
Well, the first thing and probably the most important is self-awareness, which actually a lot of people don't have. Their self-awareness is not that strong. You'd be real surprised
Mm,
how many cases that is, because you can't even be emotionally intelligent unless you have self-awareness. So you need to be self-aware first that you're stressed and that you're maybe not in the most resourceful state. Remember that when we're stressed, angry, or having negative emotions, we're about 30% less intelligent. And that's according to scientific data that was done, I believe, at Harvard Medical School and a couple of other studies that were done here in the States recently. Again, you're 30% less intelligent. That means 30% dumber when you're
mm.
stressed or angry or having negative emotions. You could look at the other way. When you're in a positive state of mind, you're 30% smarter. Anyway, is a cup half full or half empty? There you go. So stress management, first you need to recognize it in yourself. Once you've recognized it, there's techniques that you can learn that we teach, for example, how to calm yourself down before you go into that meeting. I'll give you an example. I come out of a meeting, it's been really charged, really, maybe there's been a lot of anger, whatever I'm really stressed, unhappy about, and now I have to go into another meeting. Would it be smart for me to walk from that charged up meeting where I'm all emotional right into the new meeting? What's going to happen?
Okay.
I'm going to take that negative energy from the first meeting and I'm going to bring it into the second meeting. The trick to it, and I learned this from the CFO of a very large petroleum company, multi-billion-dollar company, all right? What he would do, he'd go for a walk around the grounds and the meeting would wait. Of course, he's CFO, so he could do that, right? And the meeting would wait maybe 10 minutes for him to come. So he kind of pull himself together, calm himself down, then go into the meeting. So he's not bringing in that negative energy, that stress or whatever into the meeting. That was the first part you were asking. The second thing you were asking was about crisis management.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Crisis management, yes,
Okay.
indeed.
What specifically about crisis management would you like me to address?
Well, it depends on the situation too. So give me the recent experience that you done.
The
The recent experience that you
of crisis management.
yes.
For myself, I haven't had any crisis in a while, but let's see. Clients, yeah, I've got one client. They've got a situation, and it's a very tricky situation. Let's see, because I have to be careful here because of non-disclosure. But this company makes a lot of money. We're millions and millions and millions. I mean, they're just a cash cow. They're really good at selling, and they're just cranking it out. It's a founder's company, but they've grown to the level where it's time they can't really expand anymore without making changes. Right? They need to bring in people to help them. On the other hand, they have all this money coming in because they're really good at sales, but all those profits now are starting to go out the back door in the form of, it says, insurance cost. Their insurance claims are really, really high, and they're spending, we're talking big millions, tens of millions in insurance claims. So basically, money's coming in the door, and it's going right back out for insurance. Now, with these people, that's a crisis. But they're not quite willing to accept the fact that it's their responsibility to fix it. And that's the job of a strategist or a business consultant, communication expert that they bring in to communicate to them and as clearly as possible so they can understand that they need to make some adaptations. And keep in mind, this is like a family-run business that was started from scratch. These are very basic people. They're good business people. They're good people. But they're not MBAs, have been at, McKinsey or Deloitte or that level of people in the sense of education. So they don't have, they're very street smart, but they're not Wall Street smart, so to speak. So it's a matter of knowing how to communicate the solutions to the people in a way that they will understand. The same words I might use with you, Daniel, may not be the same words I might use with someone else when communicating, because they may not have the same meaning. The words, words have meaning, but the way I deliver those words you may understand those words differently than somebody else because you're a different person. So it's important when you're a leader communicating that you're aware of who you're communicating with and when is the right time in the right way to communicate that message. And a lot of that takes planning and preparation ahead of time. Now, what do you do when you have a crisis situation and it pops up right in your face right then and there? That's a good question, right? What do you do? Well, if you don't have a good response for that very moment, who says you have to give an answer right then and there? I mean, unless it's like the building's on fire or something like that, right? If it's something that can wait a few minutes, take your time, think about it, come up with a good solution and a good way to respond. Remember, a lot of times you can say words that can do a lot of damage, and you can't take that back. So you need to be careful how you speak to people, because there are things you can say to someone, and they're never going to forget it, and they're going to resent you for as long as you guys know each other. And that's not very good if you're going to be working with somebody for the next 10, 20 years. Short-term and long-term goals. Busy. And I'm good at time management, believe me. And prioritization, I'm good at as well because I teach it. Short-term goals, I've got some projects in Europe I'm going back to take care of. They're clients at places I've been working at or will be working at. So preparing all the trainings and getting all the background on my clients over there. Those are my short-term goals. Long-term goals are thinking about how I'm going to reorganize business because of AI. AI is going to change everything, at least in the education space, so radically. I'm going to say it again, so radically, people have no idea what's coming. But I can tell you one thing for sure. Teachers, the old-fashioned teachers in school, I give them 5 to 10 years left. And what they'll do is they'll start facing and teaching robots that teach, and you'll still have teachers, but it'll be a gradual replacement. So there's going to be a lot of changes. If that's going to happen in the education system, for sure, in the corporate training, consulting area, the same kind of thing will come into play. Just a matter of time. So figuring out how to adapt to the change.
Well, good luck to your goals, Mr. Don, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I don't know if you want to be like me because I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I learned from those mistakes.
Yes, we need to
But I
learn
can
from
share.
those mistakes.
I'm sorry.
We need to learn from those mistakes.
Absolutely. If you don't learn from your mistakes, then it was a waste. I think the biggest piece of wisdom I could share with anyone is people get too tied up on life. And what I'm saying by this is people think, oh yeah, it's so important. This is so important. Everything is so important. You know, when you come to Earth, you're here, you're on vacation, man. You're not staying. None of us are staying. So think about more like a vacation or a trip, and it has a round trip ticket. We all have that round trip ticket, and learn to enjoy the process and try to make it a better place so that when you look back, you can say, you know what, that was worth it. And I was able to help people and make people's lives better rather than thinking about, oh, what can I get out of it? I want to enjoy everything I can get out of it, kind of like a Neanderthal kind of mentality. Try to give back to people, try to help people, make it a better place than before you came. And just remember, it's a round trip ticket and it goes really, really, really fast.
Fast. Very, very fast, people. Build your legacy to the world just like Mr. Don Weber. So can you please recommend a book of books that influenced your journey?
Books,
Yes,
lots.
please.
Well, right now I'm reading one called Crucial Conversations. Actually, it's the second time I've read it. Excellent book. If you want to learn about difficult conversations. If you want to learn about people skills, I recommend reading Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Classic. Was written in the late 1920s or 1930s, and it's a classic. It's really, really a good book. There's a lot of wisdom in that book, and you have a lot of new guys coming out, and they take old wisdom and they try to repackage it. But these were you could say the grandfathers or the geniuses that came up with these ideas. I'd say that probably your best bet.
Yes, and thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Don. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in 6th season, abstract poetry in 3rd season, and my book 101 review in 6th season as well. Comedy 101 3rd season, food 101 6th season, and geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are 5th season, science 101, sex 101 in 4th season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible verses 101 are my baby podcasts. So please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Don, reflecting on all the leaders you've coached, what is the single most impactful, subtle shift, behavior, or mindset that consistently unlocks a stronger executive presence for them?
When they realize that they're not their title. So many people, executives, especially senior executives, the bigger the company, the bigger the title, the more this happens. They tend to start believing that they are their title. So the problem is, what happens when they're no longer fill that position? They no longer are CEO, or they no longer are president or chairman of the board. What happens then? Who are they? If that's their whole identity. And learning that it's more important your own identity, not from an ego standpoint, personal branding. I'm not talking about that. You as a person, knowing yourself, than any titles or any prestige stuff that you can never receive. Unfortunately, people let themselves get blinded by the shiny, sparkly thing, and they think, "Oh, that's the thing that's going to make me happy." It'll last about 5 minutes, and
Yes, it lasts for 5 minutes. Well, Mr. Don Weber, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
sure, you can go to DR Weber Coaching and check out our website. We offer leadership coaching, leadership consulting. We also work with management consulting companies to help leaders, particularly if companies are scaling quickly. They're working with either VCs or private equities. We bring a lot of experience from the Fortune 1000 arena, and we can share that experience, that knowledge, that expertise with business leaders that are scaling and growing their companies. And they're for sure you're going to run into communication things, no doubt about it. It's hard to avoid because you're dealing with people, and each person is his own little world. Or LinkedIn at Don Weber.
Yes,
D-O-N,
people. Yes,
Weber.
people, let's support Mr. Don Weber because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering leaders will rise. So, Mr. Don, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Daniel. Have a wonderful day, man. Take care.
What can people see you soon?